Welcome back to Half A Hot Rods. This week we're getting back to work on Tucker's truck, the 86 C10 short bed. When we last left off, we knew the engine was tired. This week we're going to take this old engine and see if we can't make it look a little bit more like this and get it ready to put back in. Stay tuned. If you go back and watch the Will It Run and the Will It Run for How Long, you'll notice that the old engine's just tired, it's just wore out, it's got two cylinders that are pretty much dead in it. So we went ahead and ordered a brand new LT4. No, we didn't order a new LT4 because 99% of us don't have the budget for that. What I did do is text Travis at Rusty Nuts Classic Car Restoration. He's the guy we got the black Blazer from because he does higher end stuff. And I'm like, hey, I need something that's budget friendly, that's used, that's just either a carbureted 350 or a TBI 350. Do you have anything like that? Because that's the kind of stuff that he has taken out and putting LS's and LT's and all the good stuff in to replace it. As it happened, he had a TBI motor from a similar truck. It was still running and driving. I could see the truck run. I went over and compression tested it. All cylinders were real strong. I think it had some miles on it, but the budget was right and he treated me really good. So that's the nice thing about the car hobby is there's people at every different level. So just because we're trying to do this as cheap as we can and we got to use used stuff, and that doesn't mean we can't do it. It just means we got to work a little harder at it. We got to look a little more for it. This is one of those situations where it's really one man's trash and another man's treasure, because he don't need it, he don't want it, so he sold it to me for a real reasonable price. But it saves Tucker's project because doing a complete engine replacement is not something he was really planning on. And it lets us keep the long bed intact and get two trucks out of the deal instead of one and a pile of parts. So let me show you what we're working with here. We're going to give it a rattle can rebuild and get stuff swapped over, hopefully this video, and go from there. Hound dog. Hound, are you excited about that engine? Hound, does that look like a hot rod engine to you? Hound dog, is that a hot rod engine? Is that going to make the little pickup go fast? Alright, so the nice thing about this is by getting this used engine, we got a couple of brackets we were missing. Could have reused the water pump potentially. I don't really want to do that. We'll just put a new one on it. But some brackets and some other little pieces, and now we've got extras of a lot of the TBI stuff, so we'll be able to reuse that. So first thing we got to do is we got to get it cleaned up. So we'll clean it and we'll scrape it and we'll wire brush it, and then we'll wire brush it some more. We'll use that one in the drill, and we'll do that one. And then we'll clean it some more. Thanks for the help, Hound. We'll wire brush it some more. And we'll clean it a little more. I wasn't going to get you, Hound.
You sure did. You just did.
You know what? We should probably use this one too. Alright. And we'll put a thermostat gasket in it. Probably should do an intake set while we're at it. And then we'll mask it off. And we'll use 3 different kinds of engine enamel that I have left over because I know we're killing his budget. And then we'll get the accessories pulled off the front and get the ones from his switched over. So half and a 9/16 should do it. Alright. Get these cleared off. Get this thing put on the bench. Oh, there we go. We got it now. Is that good? Okay. Man, that paint dried fast, huh? Man, you like that paint smell, don't you? Alright, let's peel our tape off. We'll get the old one over here and probably just set it on the ground next to it, and then we'll get some stuff switched over. Okay. You come over here, buddy? The people like you. Alright, there you go, hot dog. I don't know if you can hear all the critters in the background, but they're upset because it's dark out and they haven't been fed yet. They think they're starved to death. So, from about 87 up, a lot of this stuff could be standard or metric. So you got to be real careful and make sure you got what you actually need when you're doing this stuff. Double check, make sure your sockets fit good. Let's get our water pump bolts. They're all the same length. Thought they were, but doesn't hurt to check. And there's the alternator bracket. I'm actually not going to take this water pump off. I'm going to put a new one on it because they're pretty cheap. So we're going to buzz the heads of these clean with a wire brush and get our new water pump. This one did not come with a plug. The last one I bought did. So that sucks. Good thing I got those. Okay. I think we're just going to test fit everything because this is a 93 block. It should all be the same, but the accessories that were on it were definitely different. So I want to move everything from the old engine over, bolt it up, make sure it's right, and then I know I have to pull the water pump back off because if I don't paint this, it will rust. While that won't rust through and hurt anything, I sure don't want a rusty water pump on my freshly painted engine. Or Tucker's freshly painted engine. I don't care what you're putting the bolts in, always start them by hand. Because if you just run them in with an impact, there's a good chance you'll mess something up. Got a few threads. Good enough. Like I said, we're just going to go snug anyway. Save those water pump pulley nuts because I know we're going to want those. Got it out. Oh, I have to call your brother. Whoa. You giving me attitude, hound dog?
Look out, I've got cat-like speed and reflexes.
Good thing I had my safety Crocs on, nothing to worry about. I didn't want to thread in there, but once I cleaned up the threads a little bit, it did.
Yeah, and ran in with the impact.
Yeah,
Crazy with that.
that's what I said, cleaned up the threads. So I'm a little judgy there. Really?
What? That wasn't me.
I just sealed that. What a crappy sandwich bag!
Nope.
What's happening here? I think we're okay on pulley alignment there. And
What?
I'm talking to the camera.
Maybe they want to talk to me.
I'm pretty sure they don't.
I don't know about that one there.
I think our pulley alignment is good. We can wiggle it around a little bit if we need to. Put a washer here, a washer there. I don't know where the battery died, but here's where we're at. I've got all the accessories that we're putting on it mounted up. The AC stuff we'll try and figure out once it's in the truck, but we don't have all the components anyway, so I'm not super worried about it. I know we need exhaust manifold gaskets. This, I'll show you. I'm taking all the smog stuff off, so this one's got to come out. This is part of the AIR tubes. They were air injection to heat up everything faster. This side I've already got it stripped out of there, but I've got to get a plug. I think they don't really have a plug that fits good, so you end up putting a plug in there and then welding it. Had to replace one broken stud on that one, which I already got done previously. And then what else we got? This bracket's got to go back behind here for the AC, and that'll bring our pulley alignment just where it needs to be. Everything else, ooh, alternator must not run on this pulley. It must run on the, no, that alternator does not line up. Okay, so that's definitely a problem. I think I've got the wrong middle pulley on the water pump. So I got to check that out, figure it out. It's kind of funny, I knew the water pump was bad on this because it was locked up and wouldn't turn on the old engine, not on the new used one. Check this guy out. That's pretty bad. Let's see if I can get it to, I didn't really horse on it before. No, it is locked up solid. Might try and take that plug out and put it in the other one. Yeah, that's crazy. Really, really bad. So that kind of tells you how that last engine was cared for with all the rust in there. So now we move on to the boring part, which is cleaning, scuffing, wire brushing, painting. None of it's necessary. So if we just were in a hurry and wanted to get it jammed back together, we wouldn't do it. But we're going to try and get some of that detail stuff done because we're already like 8 months into this. So, and I got to figure out the pulley problem. So we'll move on to that, and then it'll just be cleaning, wire brushing, and putting it back together. So really not too bad a shape. And heck, that might not even be the right alternator. I just grabbed an early GM alternator because we were missing one. So I may have to just go buy one for this truck before I fight it too much. So hang tight for the next step. Okay, I've spent a couple hours cleaning up parts, laying everything out. I got all the grease and dirt and yuck cleaned off everything. Again, it's not going to be a perfect surface, but it's all going to be the same color, and it should prevent rust. So I've got everything laid out that I want to paint. I laid the bolts out in a manner that I will be able to tell where they go back. If there's any question, you know, like with the fan clutch, I put those bolts back in the clutch so I could find them again. The exhaust bolts are just sitting next to the side of the engine so I can tell where they go. Exhaust manifolds are all cleaned up. Still need to do the plugs and weld on those. So I've got everything pretty well cleaned up. Got all the grease and dirt and grime removed off them. Wiped them down, blown them off with air. I've got the shop heated up to a decent temperature where I think the paint will stick. And anything that I've got to flip over, like none of this stuff I have to move. I'll just paint it where it sits and that's where it'll stay. This stuff all has to be flipped over. So I put it all bottom side up because I want the final coat of paint to be on the side that I'm going to see. I've got the water pump facing me. This is the top of the water pump because that's the part you're going to see. So if I get a light spot back here or something, it's not going to be a huge deal because you won't see it. So everything's laid out here, cleaned up, blew it off, masked off the cap and then the threads on the water pump and that kind of stuff. That's really all the masking I'm going to do on this. It doesn't need to be show quality. It just needs to be kind of the same color-ish since I did the rattle can rebuild on the engine. Grabbed 1 can of engine enamel. I think that'll be plenty. And we're just going to get started spraying it. It is pretty cool today, so we'll probably let it sit for a couple of days while I'm at work. And then we'll come back. I may have to wait a day before I can flip these over and do the other side. And then we'll come back, get everything cleaned up, put it back on the engine, and the engine will be ready to go into the truck. Transmission, I still need to do front pump seal. I want to do filter while it's out. Clean it up. I'm probably not going to paint the transmission because it's under the truck and it's just not necessary. So here we go. Let's get some color on these. Remember, if you're using a rattle can, you're just trying to get really any paint. First coat, you're just trying to get something on it for it to stick to on the second coat. We're not trying to get good coverage. Especially if you're painting in temperatures that are cooler than you really should be. Which is precisely what we're doing here. Pressing our luck. And on the water pump, I learned the hard way on the Cream Puff Crew Cab, which is one of my earlier videos, so not great, but I learned after the fact that there is no finish on these water pumps from the auto parts store, and a couple weeks after you put it on, it'll be rusty if you don't paint it. So I don't do that anymore. I like to learn everything the hard way. Just get a little bit on there and then chill. I'm not trying to make this look fantastic. I'm just trying to make sure that it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb, that it's the only thing that hasn't been painted. So, not fantastic, I think I got. Alright, normally if it's warm out, I'll wait 10 minutes and go around and get a second coat. It's probably 50, 60 degrees in the shop today, which is definitely not ideal for painting. So we're probably going to let that sit for 20 minutes-ish before I go back and try and make another coat. So get you back here once we've got a finished product and show you how it came out. And we'll probably do a total of 3 coats on this. Unless 2 looks really good, which I doubt it will, we'll do 3. We'll do 20 minutes, do another one, 20 minutes, do another one. And then once the 3rd coat is dried on this side, we'll flip the stuff that needs flipped, which may be a day or 2, and then we'll do 3 coats on that side. I'm getting close to having this engine ready to put back in with the transmission. And I can't find the rear seal, which I know I bought. I'm thinking it might be in the truck that Wyatt's driving or the Blazer that Missy's driving. Got all the sensors switched out. Finally got the right oil sender for there. Adapter switched over. Put the throttle body off the 87 on this engine. Temperature sender was different. I don't remember what else. Use the coil and mount from the 93 because it was actually bolted down. The other one was just laying there and had a piece of twisted wire for ground, so that wasn't ideal. I guess we just put this bad boy together. I already did this, but when you're seating a torque converter, you want to rotate it and kind of wiggle it a little bit. And you'll hear it clunk once, and keep rotating it, and then it'll clunk twice, and it should be pushed way back in there. I can tell you from experience that you can't get away with just putting the bell housing against the back of the engine and smashing them together, drawing them tight with the bolts. You will ruin the front pump and the transmission. Because your transmission doesn't care that you have a trip planned the next day, and you really don't have time for that. I'm going to be really close. Torque converter. Exhaust bolts. Way too many. Cross member. Not marked. U-joints. That's why it's not marked. More converter bolts. Excuse me. Springs and nuts. That's exhaust stuff. No idea. Brackets, trans inspection cover, there we go, bell housing. Yeah, I'm going to have to get that straighter. The engine ain't sitting high enough. Just kidding. Just didn't have the angle quite right. After a good bench. Probably put these in with the Ooga Doogas after we get them started by hand. Need a little more grip, use your extension. you can see in here that we've still got a gap between the torque converter and the flywheel, and we should have. We'll push that torque converter forward to hook it to the flywheel here in a minute. All right, transmission and engine are mated. Now we just got to get this torque converter tightened up to the right spots. Which means we got to figure out which one of these holes. Get this torque converter in the right spot. I got to figure out which holes line up, and I'm thinking it's not those ones since they're outside of it. We'll get a pry stick. The proper tool for this job. This isn't it. Okay, got one started. Let's see what size these are. What size are they, Yeti? I don't know. Doesn't know. You might be able to go through and just tighten one down and then go through and tighten each one, but because there is a little bit of movement in there, I'm going to rotate it around and get them all started and then tighten them gradually. I might be able to get the other one over there actually before I started turning that. I might have been able to get one from each side if I'd have been smarter. I don't know if you're supposed to reuse torque converter bolts, but I know I have, and I haven't had an issue in the past, so. The special tool I made for this, actually it's just a screwdriver that I bent using it for something I shouldn't have been. Say that's. I don't think I can get to the one on the other side. No, I can't even see it. So we'll go back around now and tighten the other two. I could pull this oil filter off to give myself more room, but I'm managing with it in there and I don't need any more messes, so we'll leave it. Alright. I'd say those are tight. I actually have an inspection cover for this, unlike many that I've done. So we'll wait till we got it in the truck to put that on though. Alright. What else we gotta do? Yeti, what else we gotta do? I don't know. Hound dog, what's left? I don't know. And I don't like Yeti being out here. I don't like him. Sorry, Hound. Alright. Converter bolts, done. Bell housing bolts, done. Feels good to throw those bags away. I think we're about ready to chain this hog up and put it in there. I can put that rear transmission seal in after it's in the truck. Although I do find that a little annoying that I can't find it. Hi, Yeti. It's a little annoying. Watch out. Like you. Only you're a lot annoying. We're ready to get this hog back in there. Only we got to get this thing out of the way so we got room to maneuver in here. yeah, I think that's about it. You can see what's left of the old one. We got all the stuff stripped off it that we need. All of our fittings and sensors and adapters. Still got it in here in case there's something I missed, but I think we pretty well got it licked. And put as much on out here that I could that wouldn't be in the way. The new power steering pressure hose on there, all pretty and new. Checked both ends to make sure it tightened down good in here, and then checked it in the truck to make sure it fit good over there. The exhaust manifolds I'm going to wait on because the stock ones for this truck, let me show you. I've got the ones for the truck ready to go back on. Almost. Problem is, this had AIR tubes in it, which is emission stuff that's not going back on it. They don't make a plug that fits this well, so you got to get a plug that's kind of okay-ish, jam it in there, weld it up. The manifolds that came with the engine are a little bit different as far as how they exit, because I think they both go back, and on these ones you can see the driver's side goes straight down. So the other ones I think both go back. We're going to get the engine in the truck and try to use the ones that came with the engine, because those don't have the AIR tube holes, so I won't have to monkey around with plugging them. If I do have to plug them, it's not a huge deal, just I think it would be better not to have that cobbled together if I can avoid it. So, I think that might be enough for an episode. I don't want to make these too crazy long. I know they're hard to watch somebody else work for an hour, hour and a half, unless they're really good at it, which, let's be honest, I'm barely getting by here. Just kidding. As it turned out, I wasn't done. I had a lot going on this week, and it was much easier to continue doing what I was doing without filming, so I took a few pictures to tease Tucker, sent them as I was working on the truck, but I did turn the camera off. And I did something that you probably shouldn't do with just one person. Ideally, get a buddy to help you, because it's just so much easier. But with the help of some chains and some bungee cords and a little bit of cursing and persistence, I actually was able to get the engine and transmission off my bench. And into the truck. Nothing's hooked up yet, but I do have it sitting on the crossmember. Motor mount bolts are in, and we're ready to start hooking up hoses and wires and all that other stuff. And we might save that for another video. We'll see how it plays out. I try to make these things interesting enough and informative enough without them being super boring. As far as the rejuvenation of the engine, I'll go over the cost of the engine when we get to the end of this project, but it was inexpensive as engines go. We spent probably, I want to say $20 to $30 on cleaning products. That's wire wheels, brake clean, stuff like that. It's hard to keep track of it exactly because anytime I go to Walmart, I pick up like 2 cans of brake clean so that I've got a constant supply, and it's only $2 a can, and it doesn't break me when I buy 30 at a time. So a little bit of brake clean, wire wheels, some wire brushes, which obviously aren't worn out. I just keep using them. I used 3 cans of paint. They were all engine paint, but they were different colors that I had left over from other projects. And those, I didn't count in the cost because I counted them in the cost of something else I did, and then, left the leftovers on the shelf, and I don't throw anything away. What else did we use? Intake gaskets were about $20. Water pump, I want to say was $30 from Rock Auto. I didn't change plugs. I'm not going to change plug wires, distributor cap, rotor, any of that stuff. It looked in decent condition, and it was running good with it before. I did have to put a throttle body base gasket on it because we changed the throttle body. Put the one from the old engine on the new engine because the hookups and stuff were just slightly different. So So to make it easier, so everything is still basically 87, we switched that stuff over. The power steering hose, I want to say, was $18. We've got a running list in the house, and we'll go over that when we're all done with the complete project, give you guys an idea of what it takes to do something like this in your spare time. Really, sliding the engine and trans into the truck and getting it hooked up isn't a huge time-consuming process compared to everything else we've done, but it sure feels like a big step. And, you know, there's still a lot to go. Obviously, this is going to come back off and get painted, but I just wanted to set it on there to keep critters and stuff out of the engine. So yeah, we've made a little step that feels like a big step. So that won't be a separate video, but all the hooking up and matching things up, we'll include some of that in the next video because it's easier than you think. And I just want to show people you really don't need a ton of knowledge, experience, or skills. If you take your time, figure it out. When you have questions, we have the luxury of Googling it now. And if you look around, you can find the answers. Just have to kind of weigh where you're finding them. So that's where we're at on this one. I think, so total rejuvenation of this engine, we're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 on top of the purchase price, which I feel like is pretty good. And hopefully it'll run and do well for them for a while. So that is going to wrap it up for this week. Thanks again for watching. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and keep an eye out for the new project that's coming, because the day after I slid this engine in, I brought in my powertrain for the mystery truck. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.